Hi, welcome to Inside the Artist's Mind. It's Cadence Hooks.
And Jen from Jen and Lynn.
And on this episode, we're talking about who our favorite female artists are.
Yes, who our women artists are, who paved the way for artists like us to exist.
Right. So Jennifer, let's get started. Who's your favorite female artist?
So I don't have favorites, but amongst my favorite is one of the first artists that really pushed me to become a photographer is an artist named Diana Arbus, who I'm sure a lot of people are aware of. So she is an American women artist, and she was known, her most famous photograph was a picture of a pair of twins together. So she was very interested in sort of the sublime and the uncomfortable, and she photographed like giants and people who live in nudist colonies. So in other words, she was an artist that had access to these secret worlds that otherwise we wouldn't know about, which is something that I personally am very interested in as well. So Cadence, who's one of your favorite women artists?
My favorite women artist of all time is Jenny Saville. She really inspires me, especially being a figurative painter, to look at the body not just as a body but as a landscape and to really pick out the color abstractions in it. And I'm so impressed by the size that she works on. She's actually inspired me to work on a larger scale. She uses textures with oil paints and charcoal, which is really, really powerful. And I just love the fact that she sheds light on the vulnerability of women and how we have this relationship with our bodies that always isn't positive. There's dark sides, and we're constantly contrasted with like who we are and what society thinks we should be, or pop culture. And I think it's really powerful. Jennifer, tell me about another one of your favorite female artists.
So speaking of idealizing women in art, one artist that I think a lot of people resonate with is Frida Kahlo, and she's one of my favorites for very obvious reasons. So she was a painter who painted actually on pretty small scale. Her actual paintings that she's famous for are her self-portraits, which I always found really, really inspiring and moving, because she didn't paint herself, to look like a more beautiful woman. She painted herself as she looked. She had a unibrow, which she's like famous for, and not only that, she celebrated the fact that she was Mexican by incorporating a lot of symbols and colors that refer to her Mexican culture, which I still think to this day is incredibly powerful. Because not only did she celebrate she was a woman, and the fact that she was a woman of color. She also had to overcome the fact that she was married to a very, very powerful male painter who was more famous than her at the time. Now you can say the roles were reversed, because I would argue that Frida Kahlo is actually more famous than Diego Rivera. So who's a painter or an artist that you admire?
I also admire Alice Neal. She's a 20th century American painter. She does figurative painting. And I really love her for the fact that she really focuses on the expressions of her figures, and also she captured her lovers, her friends, and her family. So she really just it's a picture into the modern life. I love her use of color painting and what her subjects are going through. And I love it. It's really powerful. Jennifer, what other artists do you love?
So the last artist I wanted to talk about was Marina Abramovich. So many people are familiar with in this book of portraits of people who sat across from her. What I love about her is again, it's a theme that's running through all this, is the courage. She started in the 60s, and she was doing some really powerful things and testing the limits of her own body. For instance, that really famous picture of her former collaborator, Ule, where she sits across from him when they're both holding a bow and arrow pointed at each other's hearts, which I thought was a crazy thing to do. I would personally never do that, but I admire her courage for doing that, because, in a lot of ways she's paved the way for legitimizing performance art as it's a legitimate medium for expression. Yeah, so thank you so much again for tuning in.
And join us next time for another episode of Inside the Artist's Mind.
Bye.
Bye.